everything. Not this time.
Excellent planning, Michael. Oh, the things I could have done with a whiteboard.
Humbugs.
Not a fan of Christmas, Julian?
Oh, no, I'm just saying there's a jar of humbugs here.
Well, we're delighted to be joined by Ben Willbond and Simon Farnaby. I feel already we have hinted we're going to be showing Simon's character a lot of love. Ben, just, I know what actors and comedians are like. Egos need massaging. You're terrific in it as well. Also, your hair is looking tremendous. I'm looking at you on a video call, and you look like somebody who either is very adept at cutting their own hair or you knew the restrictions were coming and you had it attended to.
I snuck one in just before, in fact, just after the last, whatever it was, tier 3 to 2, I don't know. I snuck one in.
In the interregnum.
Yeah.
Simon, meanwhile, you look like you could play Beethoven if you wanted to. I mean, as a compliment.
I am looking for an audition for Beethoven. I'm hoping to do for Beethoven what Tom Hulce did for Amadeus. Back in the day, that's what...
rock me Beethoven. Just very quickly before we get into Ghosts, which as I think you've heard, we all think is tremendous. I'm doing a rather unscientific survey into when the TV goes on in your house on Christmas Day. Ben, at what time typically do you put the telly on?
My children put it on. Now they figured it out how to sneak downstairs and put it on as soon as they get up,
right.
Which, is very bad in modern parenting terms, but actually brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it.
Me too. I think of the telly as being very much like a Mary Poppins figure in our house.
I mean, it can be any time between sort of 6:30 and 7, really. On it goes.
Glad to hear it. We've had a few sort of Christmas TV refuseniks, and it's glad to get a bit of balance here. Simon, how about you?
Well, my daughter's obsessed with Christmas and Santa Claus, so she'll be really preoccupied with her presents when they get open about sort of 7 a.m. So the TV will be on about 7:10.
That's very scientific. That's exactly what Jeff wanted.
It is. I'll add those. I'll add those data points to the survey. So I mean, Ghosts. It's not been around that long, but it already feels very beloved. I know you're coming off the back of Horrible Histories and Yonderland, which people loved, but Ghosts already feels like the type of show where people would be waiting for a Christmas special. Is it something you relish doing as a team?
Yeah, I mean, what you mean the Christmas special itself?
Yeah.
was just a delight to hear that we got that. Commissioned and was really exciting, and then it fell to me and Simon to take it on as writers. I mean, we write the whole show around a table, and all the stories come out of all of us, and we collectively write it. But then obviously we sort of pair off or go off on our own and write, and it was, I don't know, I was really excited because there's something really special about it. You just think, wow, we're gonna have to we got to pull it all out of the. Pull out all the stops for this one. It was a real delight to write, I have to say.
It's strange because we didn't realise that obviously a pandemic was coming. We were filming in sort of last January, February, and we ended just before the lockdown. And the Christmas special, unbeknownst to Ben and I, we made it the most populous Christmas special possible. We got as many people as we could in one room. So we already have a lot of characters with the ghosts. And Mike and Alison. And then we had Mike's family, and the joke being there were lots of them. So we had a sort of room full of, there's about 30 people in there.
I did wonder about that because, I mean, there's so many people. It looks like Rita Ora's birthday party. And I thought, did you have to sort of work around the restrictions? But actually, you had this all filmed and ready to be edited before the restrictions came in.
Although we did find out, I mean, obviously the news was breaking, and and we started to get a bit concerned about 2 weeks before we were due to finish. And in the biggest stroke of irony you could possibly, basically the last scenes we shot were the Plague Village scenes from the series. And we were just stood around as these plague victims looking at each other, going, "This is a bit weird. We are going to have to go into lockdown for a global pandemic."
Wow.
As we are filming about a global pandemic, it was weird, but we got really lucky to be able to finish on time, I'd say.
Hayley, I think we are now at a point where we can obsessively ask questions about Simon's character Julian.
I was just going to say that this episode taps so much into the idea of missing things, which is, of course, what ghosts are very good at because they're dead. Have you spent the year just slowly realizing how relevant this Christmas special would ultimately be? It's the most relevant Christmas special out there. Scott and I have seen them all.
Yeah, it's funny when we have this line, you don't miss it till it's gone. Julian says about his trousers, actually, because I spend the whole time with him. That's how he died. And so yeah, you're right. There's a poignancy there. And being dead, people ask this quite often, how do you come up with storylines for dead people? Because they can't ostensibly sort of change, which is usually a good sort of route to a story. But of course, if you've got an eternity to think about the choices you made in life, you start to reassess your priorities, although you're dead, so you can't do anything about it. But certainly in this one, Julian has a realization of something that he sort of took for granted in his life. We all take things for granted. So hopefully amongst the humour, there's a bit of poignancy there as well. Yeah.
I loved it when he refers to his wife as this woman from my wedding. I think that was the top line of the whole show. How fun is it to write that character?
Yeah, it was that was it was going to be the woman from my marriage, and then it changes to the woman from my wedding at the last minute. Yeah, he's a fun character to play. He's really awful, but he's a mixture of lots of politicians. People say, is he sort of left or right? He speaks like Tony Blair. So Tony Blair has very short vowel sounds. So he says services, and those are about the only words I can do as Tony Blair. But Ben also, I once auditioned to play Tony Blair for an Edinburgh show, and then Ben auditioned to play David Cameron in a show. So we mixed up our politicians quite well.
I got quite far down the audition process and studied Cameron's voice patterns, and then realised he was basically copying Blair. So there's this perfect blend of, politician of the time who was, very, and all the pointing and all the media training that they do.
The Newsnight thumbs.
Yes.
Newsnight thumbs. Yeah.
Parliament Point as well is in there.
We all know that politician.
He makes me very nostalgic for the era of MPs getting done for sucking toes and being found with tangerines in their mouth and so on. Was that's I know we that's the era when he passed over to the other side. Do you miss those days?
Well, it's a strange sort of being arty. I'm sort of slightly left wing, I suppose you would say. And in those days, those politicians were the enemy. Strangely, there's a lot of Michael Heseltine and John Major. I remember those were Tories, but the Conservatives were pro-Europe then, and it was all. And I do miss that sort of. There's a line in the show actually where I say, "Don't worry, darling. Once I sign this treaty, you'll never have to hear the words European Union ever again." And this was, too. And we actually wrote it, over a year and a half ago, and we went, "Well, do you think people will still be talking about Brexit?" We went, "Yes, they will."
There was a bit of pushback on that. It's like, well, I don't know. I think things will probably be ironed out by then.
The optimism. Yeah. Scott, what were you going to say?
So what I love about Ghosts is how there are so many characters in it, much more than a normal sitcom, but it all feels incredibly democratic, in which there's no one hogging the lines. It feels as if that every single character has got their place. Was that, that was very much in there with Horrible Histories as well, but was that an intention from the very start? Because I've never seen a sitcom that manages to give the limelight to everyone, I think.
Well, I think it had to be our goal from the start, because we're a group of primarily of 6, and then with Ghosts we've expanded that troupe, if you like, And you're right, it's really challenging to serve all of those characters in an episode, and then you've got to add Mike and Alison, and then often a guest character to try and kick off the episode, or whatever. So they are really difficult scripts to put together because you've got to give everybody something. And there is a discipline there in the writing of it. It is a challenge. I won't lie, but it's a real fun part of it as well, because you've got to hunt down these storylines for everyone, even if they're slight. So in some episodes, characters won't be as well served as they are in others. Even if they're slight, they're still full stories. It might just be 3 beats of something, but you'll still see that character. You still see your favourite character, or whatever.
With newer cast members, so many of you of that nucleus have worked together for so long. You must have a shorthand in terms of the way you work and the way you communicate and the way that you are either positive or negative about an idea. Does it change the group dynamic and how you communicate?
Did you hear Tom Cruise going off on one? That's me.
We have quite a lot of in-jokes that go back, 15 years. But once everyone gets a handle on them, it's okay. No, the others, they're great at comedy and they love comedy. And a lot of times we're trying to make each other laugh. So they fit in really well, actually. It's a really good team.
And do you, with a Christmas episode, how does it start? The premise of the show is fantastic anyway. How does it start transferring that to something that is a standalone Christmas story?
Well, initially we had the idea of Mike's family coming, and we thought that was just the initial idea. And what if Mike's family came? And what if we wanted them to have a nice Christmas day? So immediately ideas start coming. Like, what if his mum and dad refuse to relax, which is my mum and dad. My dad just never sits down the whole Christmas. And then we had an idea of a baby. What if one of them had a baby? And often we have an idea like that, and someone will catch hold of it. Like, I think someone else said, what if there's a baby? And I sort of laughed and went, well, Julian would probably hate it. It'd be great if it was in his room. And so really that's how we just throw ideas around, and if something catches and the others build on it, it becomes a storyline. And that we didn't actually know that the baby storyline would be the sort of central one, but it turned out to be one of the sort of main sort of 2 or 3 strands. And as you write it, you find out which is the main one and which is the sort of, an A story, B story, C story. I mean, ours goes down to Z story. But,
and what's great is you got these ghosts, who died at different points in history. So you've got millennia of Christmas and pre-Christmas tradition to be drawing on for jokes.
I mean, there's a lot of research that went into when did Christmas actually start in the way that we know. And of course, it's a big Victorian invention, the Christmas tree. And all the decorations that we tend to do in this country, and then beyond that, it starts to get quite interesting. And then you start to think, what happened in Shakespeare's era when Mary was alive? What did they do? Turns out they had a winter festival that was a Christmas festival, but it didn't look very much like it does now. And so you start to look at all the different times. And the fun one is always Robin. What would Robin, the caveman, do? And it always comes down to, well, he would just be in a cave trying not to let the bears in.
Was there anything that came up in the research that you thought, there's no way of getting it in, but that is a great fact?
Gosh.
Sorry, a bit of a hospital passer question like that, I realise.
No, I'll think of it. I'll come back to that. I'll think of it.
Lots of people have stories about traditions where you sort of dip a log in honey and put it by the fire, and this. I mean, that's sort of a made-up one, but those are the stories.
It sounded convincing.
I'm going to do it this year. Why not?
If anyone wants to try it, they can start their own tradition. We're all doing it different this year, so why not dip a log in honey, put it by the fire, and this is what.
Before I let you go, I'm very curious to know what happens next with Ghosts. Will there be another series? Where are you all up to with it?
There is another series. It's written. It's it's been delivered to the BBC in a big brown envelope, and we're just figuring out how we're gonna film it. I mean, we're scheduled to film next year, and we actually had a read through last week, which we were going to do in person, but of course that all got nixed very quickly, and nobody really wanted to meet up in person. And I just don't know. I mean, we are scheduled to go ahead, so we're fingers crossed that we can make it COVID safe and shoot. I mean, it might be that, series 3, there'll be lots of wide angles and us all standing very far apart from each other.
Just do it on Zoom, Ghost via Zoom. I think could potentially work. I'm also intrigued, just delivering something on a brown envelope to the BBC, like it's a mysterious.
In a big brown envelope, in a big jiffy bag full of scripts.
It's in honey.
Listen,
we do our pictures now. I just put them on the back of a brown envelope. There you go. Do you want that?
Sure, I'm happy for that.
Who are you?
Listen, I'll let you go. I just want to abuse my position ever so slightly with Simon while I've got you here, because when do I ever get a chance to talk to you? My wife and I were saying the other day, the world needs a Paddington Christmas film.
Oh, well, I think that was Paddington 2, wasn't it? I mean, I think the end with the Christmas tree on the stairs. Just rewatch that.
Okay, you're not going to give us a standalone.
Christmas film. I don't know. I mean, I think there's going to be a Paddington 3 at some point. I'm not entirely sure if it'll be a full-on Christmas film. And as you wish, Jeff. But I mean,
I'd be happy to send you some suggestions in a brown envelope dipped in honey. All right, the Ghost Christmas special, back to that. It's on BBC One on Wednesday, the 23rd of December at 8:30, and then you'll be able to watch it on iPlayer. Ben, Simon, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having us.
I just have to very quickly say that, like, the things that you touch on at the very end of the episode about